This is video 2.2 of the Blender 2.80 course, and this time I'm going to talk about the different workspaces that you see on the top of your screen. These different workspaces are essentially just a set of tools that apply to any given task. Most of the time when you are moving stuff and aligning stuff and adding more stuff into your scene, you will find that the layout tab works fine. But when you start actual modeling, you may want to go to the modeling tab because it has a different set of tools here on the left hand side. Turn on my screencast keys again so that you can see what I'm doing. All of these tools here are related to the modeling of your meshes, so it's good to have all of these different tools available when you need them. You are not limited to any of the tools that you see here. You can actually edit everything that you see on the screen, but for the most part it will create issues later. So I would not suggest that you do edits to the workspace as such. Sculpting is yet a different type of workspace. It's for doing things that are sculpted, such as human faces and whatever organic forms that you want to make. But I have to say that I haven't been able to go into sculpting at all. To understand what these tools here are, you'll have to look at some other videos on YouTube and learn from there. I haven't done any sculpting, so it's not going to be included in the course. UV editing is when you have some sort of a mesh and you want to select everything in your mesh and then apply textures to the mesh. You can do an UV unwrap, which means that the surface of your object is taken out like a banana peel and placed here on a UV grid. And whatever image you place here under this grid or your UV map is going to be transposed on your object. Let me take a slightly more complex object, such as a monkey, and I will then go into edit mode and do a smart UV project on this. So you will see that every face that I have here on the monkey are then shown on the UV map on the left. All of these faces here are placed here on the UV map. This looks very complex, and it is actually quite complex, but we will check this later. The texture paint means that you can add a material to your monkey and then just paint on the monkey itself, and it will be transferred onto the UV unwrap. That's actually quite nice when you have some complex forms that you want to give colors to. Shading workspace is for applying different kinds of lighting and shading models for your meshes and especially your scenes. And that is, again, rather complex. It's not used all the time, but it will be touched on later in the course. So this is for adding lights and shadows and shades into your scenes. The animation tab merely means that you can take your mesh and you can add a keyframe to it, like lock rot scale, go 20 frames further, and move the object there and add a keyframe. Go another 20 frames there and add a keyframe. And now when you go back to the start and you play this, the mouse or the monkey will move. So this is just your basic animation system. The rendering tab is used for getting renders or finished images out of your meshes. And this is actually quite important because at the end of the day, everything that you make ends up in a rendered image, because showing somebody the model, the mesh, is not very nice unless you understand how it's made. So that's why things need to be rendered so that they will be shown as images to people. And then we have compositing, and compositing is for doing some extended operations on your meshes, like adding blur to your images or adding different types of shaders to your images or meshes. And this is rather complex, and it's not, again, it's not one of the key things that we have here on this course, because it's rather a special thing. And scripting is for those who like to use Python. You can see Python here on the right hand side. There's the interactive console. So if you know Python, you can just write your code in here, or you can paste any piece of code in here, and it will then be run when you add the run command. So, but most of the time you will be using the layout and the modeling and the UV editing and the texture painting and the shading and rendering image tabs. Most of the other workspaces are not the easiest to use, and I tend not to use them that much. But that's again because I mostly do 3D printing.